What's going on, everybody? I'm Quest for Nostalgia. What's going on, everybody? I'm Quest for Nostalgia. I'm a YouTube content creator and I stream variety games over on Twitch. In this video, I'm going to talk about all the steps you need to do to 3D print this Blue Ranger helmet and the full finishing process. Hopefully you've seen my last video where I did the White Ranger helmet for a commission for a buddy, and then I, decided I'm going to go through all of the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger range here. That Green Ranger I did over there as well, and I absolutely adore that helmet. Unfortunately, I didn't film the process on there, but as we go and continue, I'm going to keep doing them. So this one here is a commission for my buddy Cody, and so I did this Blue Ranger and had to film the process and really wanted to show you guys how to do this. But let's get into the actual finishing process of the helmet now. So you start with the raw printed pieces. There's a few pieces, a back piece, a mouth piece, and the front piece there. And then I went into 80 grit, and 80 grit I do in a bunch of different ways. I usually start with a little small detail sander, and that allows me to knock out big surfaces like the back plate and just things that are easy to get to. And then next I go into an 80 grit sponge. So I wrap 80 grit around a sponge, and that allows me to get other surfaces a little bit better than the little detail sander that can get into. And then for all the nooks and crannies, I go ahead and I take the sandpaper off and I go by hand and I go into those nooks and crannies with that 80 grit. So somehow I lost some footage to this process, but after the 80 grit, I do a filler primer. So the 80 grit really knocks down the layer lines, and then the filler primer helps also. And then on top of that, I do Bondo glazing putty, and I do that in spots where when the print finishes, it leaves a kind of chunky stepping. So I really want to make sure those areas are nice and smooth. So I use some Bondo glazing putty on those areas. After the Bondo is nice and set up, I used 120 grit, and that's my next layer of sanding. I do everything I did like I did in the first one with the 80, I just do it with the 120, and then I move on from there. After the 120 grit, I actually use a sandable primer, and so that one's a little bit less thick than the filler primer, but still is a good nice coat, and like I said, it's sandable. It's a good one to do my next layer height, which is 220. So I'll do a 220 grit after I do the sandable primer. Again, more missing footage, but after the 220 grit, I primed it white. And so after that's all nice and set up, I have that primed white, and then I hit it with 320 grit. And that's my final layer of sanding for this. 320 has been really good. For a few different helmets, I'm doing a lot of metallic, then I will go to a higher grit, but 320 often is really good enough. After that, I sprayed the mouth silver and the horn silver, and I masked those off after giving them a day to dry, because I really don't like masking on top of metallics, or masking in general. It's very scary. You do this nice paint job, and then when you put tape on it, you never know if the tape's going to peel it off. So I let it set up for a whole day, and then I masked the silver parts, and I painted it blue. And it was right around 4th of July time, so there was, kiosks in the Walmart where it had red, white, and blue spray paint cans for Rust-Oleum, so I just used like an American flag blue to do the helmet. So after that was done, you're seeing here that I'm going to hand paint the eyes. You could go ahead and have done it in different steps where you painted it gold and then masked the eyes as well, but that was just going to take a little bit too long, and I knew that I could go ahead and paint the eyes myself. And I also wanted more of a yellowish gold. When you see the Blue Ranger helmet, the eyes are definitely more of a yellowish gold than a brown gold, so I wanted to go ahead and paint that, and I had a better paint than I did a spray can. Here's where my process would be different when I do it again. So like I said, this one is a commission for my buddy, and I'm going to be doing this helmet again for my own collection instead of buying the Lightning Collection one. I think I want to just do this one again. But I hand painted the white here, and what I did was I masked it off, and then I painted this in a couple layers, and it took me quite a few layers to paint white over top of blue. I would have rather have masked this off when I painted it white in the first place, and I really should have done that, but I completely didn't think about doing that. So then I ended up hand painting, and it came out great. Everything looks nice and sharp and solid, but it would have been so much faster if I had just, when I painted the helmet white the first time, masked off this area and left it like that. So the next step here was attaching the mouthpiece, and that's another issue with the Dio3D helmet there. It doesn't really sit in there nice. There's not a lot of contact points in there, so it goes in there fine. It slips into the front, but then I hot glued the back of it, and I would rather have welded in there using a soldering iron to heat the plastic and melt the plastic together, but there weren't a lot of good contact points, and I didn't want to touch it with the hot, iron there, and it burned through the front of it. So I just ended up hot gluing. It came out fine. I would have liked it a little bit more to be able to weld it, but instead, had to deal with the hot glue. And after all of the helmet was put together like that, I went through and I did a 1K clear coat, a high gloss, to really seal in everything and make it, super durable. So I used a 1K clear coat that I got from an automotive shop. Next is doing the visor. So after the helmet's all done, I had to get the visor in there. And so I make a template. I just put tape behind the mask there and drew it all out and then cut it out. And I used that on, actually it was a sheet of a picture frame. So like a cheap Walmart picture frame. That plastic in the front of it, I ended up taking that out and using that as a visor for this one. And I then took my 5% window tint, I laid it over there, dripped some water, squeegeed it all out, and cut it all out. And it came out with a great visor here. And again, I just hot glued that into place there like I do all my other visors. And it came out looking super nice. So I'm very happy with how the visor came out with this. Attachment was a little bit different than, say, the White Ranger. If you've seen that video, that White Ranger has a lip around the back of it. This one does not. It's edge to edge. So if you see here, there is no lip. So I had to add my own plastic in here. So down here, I added plastic to give the Velcro something to attach to. Sometimes you can go ahead and do buckles. The Green Ranger has buckles on there, snap there. But I wanted to make this a little bit easier for other people. The buckles can be very hard to deal with and trying to get them lined up and attached tightly. So doing it without the buckles and doing it with the Velcro to get in spot, that's a lot easier. And finally, I just used elastic for the top there. So the top pieces, I glued in the first side to the front, and then I got it lined up and I glued in the back side to the elastic, and it allows it to be very easy to be open, stays together, and then the Velcro puts it right back into spot where I want it to be. I had to scale this down so much, 85%, I think you saw in the video there, but I love how it came out. It's awesome having another wearable Power Ranger helmet. Like I said, even though this one is a commission, I will be doing this helmet again and having one for myself because, yeah, instead of doing the Lightning collection, yeah, I'm definitely going to 100% grab this one and keep this one for myself. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful for you. Hopefully you just enjoyed the process of how I've been going through and making some helmets. Next, I have an ODST helmet in the works and then Judge Dredd as well. Black Ranger right now has been struggling to get printed, unfortunately. I've been having some printer issues, so the Black Ranger will be the next Power Ranger in the series, but unfortunately, I'm struggling to get that one printed at the moment. But if you made it this far, thank you so much. You're the backbone of the channel. The views really, really help, and the watch length really, really helps me get shared, so I hope this helps you out. If you have made this far, like, comment, subscribe. The subscriptions really help. We're really crushing out those and getting past that 500 mark and growing and growing and growing. So I love you guys so much. Thank you. You can join the Discord. We've had more people coming in there and talking about 3D printing, which is awesome, or just about games. We do both here, a bunch of nerdy things here. Thanks for bearing with me with the length of this, and I just love you guys. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.